I'm not going to lie. Charles Oliveira had a lot of us fooled at first. For a moment, it seemed like he might be pulling out of UFC Brazil, but in the end, he stepped up and accepted the Mateusz Gamrot challenge. Now it's official. Charles Oliveira vs. Mateusz Gamrot goes down in October, headlining the UFC's big card in Rio de Janeiro. This whole situation was a roller coaster. First, Rafael Fiziev pulled out, leaving Oliveira without an opponent. Then came the whirlwind of names: Benoit Saint-Denis, Paddy Pimblett, Armand Tsarukyan, Diego Lopes, all of them rumored or implied. At one point, even Charles's own coach teased a matchup against different opponents, which only added to the chaos. But ultimately, the UFC landed on Gamrot, and Charles agreed. That decision was more significant than people realize. There was genuine concern that Oliveira might walk away from the fight altogether. And if that happened, it would have gutted the entire Brazil card, a card specifically built around him. Fans were already nervous, especially with Oliveira making comments that suggested he wasn't thrilled about the replacement options. But just hours after his manager posted cryptic hints on Instagram, the news broke. Charles accepted Gamrot. Now let's be real, this isn't the matchup Charles wanted. He even admitted as much. The style clash is what bothered him. He was preparing for a striker, then suddenly had to switch gears and face a wrestler. That's not ideal, and for a guy like Charles, whose preparation has to be so specific, it makes sense why he hesitated. But in the end, he did what champions do. He took the fight even though it's high risk, low reward. And here's why this fight is so interesting. Gamrot isn't your typical boogeyman who knocks people out cold or submits them left and right. He's not Islam Makhachev or Justin Gaethje in terms of finishing ability. Instead, Gamrot is like the Voldemort of the lightweight division. Fighters don't even want to say his name. Why? Because he's a nightmare matchup. He's a relentless technical wrestler who frustrates everyone he fights. He doesn't blow people out, but he drags them into exhausting, ugly wars. Look at his record. The only man to really dominate him was Beneil Dariush. The other losses, against Guram and Hooker, were razor-close decisions. And when you dig into that Dariush fight, you see a blueprint that Oliveira could follow. Gamrot shot 19 takedowns in that fight, landed only 4, and Dariush stuffed most of them while keeping the exchanges on the feet. He dropped Gamrot with counters, sprawled and brawled, and made him uncomfortable. Charles, in theory, can do the same thing, only better. He hits harder than Dariush, he's sharper technically, and he's more dangerous offensively. The key is discipline. Every time Gamrot shoots, Oliveira has to sprawl and use the scramble to get back to his feet, not engage on the ground. That's the biggest danger here. If Charles falls into his old habit of welcoming grappling exchanges, Gamrot will turn it into a grind. Instead, Oliveira has to keep it standing and rely on his striking, and striking is where Oliveira holds the clear edge. Gamrot's not a dangerous puncher, and we've seen him get put on the back foot in multiple fights. Oliveira has real knockout power, clean offensive combinations, and the ability to pressure forward. If he can keep Gamrot guessing and sprawl on those takedowns, this fight favors him heavily. Of course, the big question is Oliveira's chin. Just a few months ago, he was knocked out cold, and he's taken a lot of damage throughout his career. He's been dropped, rocked, and finished more times than most lightweights. If that durability has truly declined, even someone like Gamrot could land enough to hurt him. But if Oliveira is still sturdy, then his power and striking advantage should shine. Another angle to this, Oliveira deserves credit just for accepting. We know Benoit Saint-Denis was offered the fight and turned it down after first claiming he'd take it. He backtracked, saying he needed a full camp, which Charles himself called out. Meanwhile, Gamrot didn't hesitate. He's coming in on short notice, maybe a week and a half of real prep after weight cutting, but he didn't care. That says a lot about his mentality. What's even crazier is that these are the only 2 top 15 lightweights currently scheduled to fight. Everyone else is sitting out waiting for bigger opportunities, mainly waiting around for Ilia Topuria to make a move. So the fact that Charles and Gamrot are the ones stepping up says a lot about where their heads are at. And let's not forget, this fight easily could have been different. Diego Lopes was hovering as a backup option. He openly wanted the fight, and for a moment, it looked like it might happen. But I'm glad it didn't. Lopes is on fire right now, and that would have been a brutal matchup for Oliveira, especially after his recent knockout loss. As fun as it would have been to watch, that fight could have ended very badly for Charles. So now we have Oliveira versus Gamrot, and honestly, I think it's the best outcome. Stylistically, it's a tougher fight than Fiziev. but also a safer one for Oliveira's chin. He won't be dealing with a striker who can blitz him like Fiziev. Instead, he's facing a wrestler he can potentially shut down if he executes the right game plan. At the end of the day, Oliveira's decision to take this fight was huge. It keeps the Brazil card intact. It gives fans a high-level lightweight matchup, and it shows Charles still wants to prove himself against the toughest names. Gamrot, on the other hand, gets the spotlight he's been waiting for. And if he wins, he finally breaks through that ceiling and becomes a legitimate title threat. So what do you think? Did Charles make the right call accepting Gamrot? Do you prefer this matchup over the original fight with Fiziev? And most importantly, who wins in Rio?